The town of Willow Creek was the kind of place where secrets didn't last long. Tucked between rolling hills and ancient oaks, the college campus was its heart, a place where dreams were born and sometimes, quietly, broken. But nothing had ever shattered the town's peace, like the night two students vanished from their dorm room, leaving behind only silence and 1,000 unanswered questions. For 6 years, the story lingered like a ghost. Parents left porch lights burning, friends clung to fading hope, and the college's once bright reputation dimmed under the weight of suspicion. The world moved on, but for some, time stopped on that cold October night. Ava Lynn and Marcus Reed were not the kind of students who made headlines. Ava, a scholarship student from a working-class family, was known for her quiet brilliance and gentle smile. Marcus, the son of a local pastor, was a talented musician with a restless spirit and a heart too big for his own good. They met in freshman year, drawn together by late-night study sessions and a shared love of old jazz records. Their friendship was a lifeline in a world that often felt overwhelming. Ava struggled with anxiety, haunted by the pressure to succeed and the fear of letting her family down. Marcus, too, carried invisible burdens, his father's expectations, the weight of being a role model, the secret he'd never dared to share. On the night they disappeared, the campus was alive with the buzz of midterms and autumn parties. Ava and Marcus were last seen leaving the library together, laughing about something only they understood. Hours later, their dorm room was found empty, their phones left behind, their beds untouched. There were no signs of struggle, no clues, no goodbyes. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some whispered about a secret romance, others about debts or mental health struggles. The police searched the woods, dredged the river, questioned classmates. But the trail went cold, and the case faded into the background noise of life. For Ava's mother, every day became a test of endurance. She kept Ava's room exactly as it was, her textbooks stacked neatly on the desk, her favorite sweater draped over the chair. She replayed their last conversation over and over, searching for something she'd missed. A warning, a plea for help. Marcus's father, once a pillar of the community, withdrew into himself. He stopped preaching, stopped playing music, stopped believing in miracles. The church grew quiet, the congregation dwindled, and the Reed House became a place of whispered prayers and unanswered questions. On campus, the loss was a wound that never fully healed. Friends left flowers at the dorm, professors spoke of Ava and Marcus in hushed tones, and every new student learned their names as a cautionary tale. The college installed more cameras, hired more security, but nothing could erase the sense of vulnerability that lingered in the air. Time, they say, heals all wounds, but for some, it only deepens them. Lily Lynn, Ava's younger sister, was 12 when her world changed. Now 18, she walked the same campus paths, her sister's shadow always at her side. She studied psychology, driven by a need to understand the pain that had swallowed her family whole. She kept to herself, wary of friendships, afraid of losing anyone else. One rainy afternoon, while researching for a class project, Lily found herself scrolling through Google Street View, tracing the familiar streets of Willow Creek. It was a habit she'd picked up, an odd comfort, seeing the world frozen in time, untouched by tragedy. But as she clicked through the images, something caught her eye. On the edge of campus, near an old maintenance shed, she saw two figures, blurry, half hidden by shadows. One wore a red scarf, just like the one Ava always wore in the fall. The other carried a guitar case, identical to Marcus's battered old case. Lily's heart pounded. The image was dated 6 months after their disappearance. It didn't make sense. She zoomed in, her hands shaking. The faces were indistinct, but the posture, the way they stood close together, it was them. It had to be. Lily printed the image and took it to the police, her voice trembling as she explained. The detective, weary and skeptical, promised to look into it. But Lily knew better than to wait. She began her own investigation, retracing her sister's last known steps, talking to old friends, piecing together fragments of a story that refused to stay buried. She learned that the maintenance shed had been abandoned for years, but a groundskeeper remembered seeing lights there late at night, hearing music drifting through the trees. A neighbor recalled 2 figures slipping through the shadows, always together, always looking over their shoulders. The more Lily uncovered, the more she realized how little anyone had truly known about Ava and Marcus. Beneath the surface, there were secrets, fears, dreams, and a bond deeper than anyone had guessed. Lily's days became a blur of interviews and late-night research. She combed through old yearbooks, campus security logs, and social media posts from the year her sister vanished. She found a photo of Ava and Marcus at a campus open mic night. Marcus's arm draped protectively around Ava's shoulders, both of them laughing. The caption read, "Best friends, partners in crime." But as Lily dug deeper, she noticed something odd. In the weeks before their disappearance, Ava's posts grew sparse, her smile more forced. Marcus's music, once full of hope, turned somber. There were hints of fear, cryptic messages, a sense of being watched. Lily wondered if someone had been threatening them, or if they'd been hiding from something or someone. She reached out to Ava's old roommate, Jess, who remembered a night when Ava came back to the dorm, shaken and silent. "She wouldn't say what happened," Jess recalled, "but she hugged me for a long time. I think she was scared." Lily's mind raced with possibilities. Had Ava and Marcus run away? Were they in trouble? Or had something darker happened, something no one wanted to admit? One evening, as Lily sat in her sister's old room, she noticed a stack of letters tucked inside a poetry book. The letters were from Marcus, written in looping, hurried script. They spoke of dreams and fears, of feeling trapped, of wanting to escape. In one, Marcus wrote, "If we disappear, know that it's not your fault. We just couldn't stay." Lily's hands shook as she read. The pain in Marcus's words was raw, but there was hope too. A belief that somewhere, somehow, they could find peace. She took the letters to Detective Ramirez, the only officer who'd ever shown real compassion. Ramirez listened carefully, her eyes softening as Lily spoke. "Sometimes," she said, "people leave because they're running from something they can't face. But sometimes they're running towards something better." Ramirez agreed to reopen the case, focusing on the maintenance shed and the area around it. Together, they visited the site, now overgrown with weeds and littered with broken glass. Inside, they found remnants of a life: an old blanket, a half-empty water bottle, a notebook filled with song lyrics and sketches. Lily traced her fingers over the pages, tears streaming down her face. Ava's handwriting, Marcus's doodles. They had been here. They had been alive. As the investigation deepened, Lily learned more about the hidden struggles her sister and Marcus had faced. Ava had been battling severe anxiety, her scholarship hanging by a thread. Marcus, meanwhile, had come out as gay to a few close friends, but not to his family. The pressure to be perfect, to live up to everyone's expectations, had become unbearable. There were rumors of bullying, of threats from classmates who resented Ava's success and Marcus's difference. The college, eager to protect its reputation, had downplayed the incidents, leaving Ava and Marcus to fend for themselves. Lily's anger grew. How many others had suffered in silence, their pain ignored or dismissed? She vowed to bring the truth to light, no matter the cost. Word of Lily's search spread through Willow Creek. Old friends, professors, and even strangers reached out, sharing memories and regrets. A professor admitted to missing signs of distress. A classmate confessed to joining in the bullying, her voice trembling with guilt. "I wish I could take it back," she whispered. "I wish I'd been kinder." The community, once silent, began to speak. Stories of hidden struggles surfaced. Students battling depression, families torn apart by secrets, acts of kindness that had gone unnoticed. The college launched new support programs, and a mural of Ava and Marcus appeared on the side of the student center, a reminder of the cost of silence. Detective Ramirez managed to trace the Google Street View image to a specific date and time. She pulled security footage from a nearby building, and together with Lily, they watched as two figures slipped into the maintenance shed late at night. The footage was grainy, but there was no mistaking the red scarf and the guitar case. But then, something unexpected happened. A third figure appeared, a campus security guard. He spoke to Ava and Marcus, then led them away. The guard's name was Tom Grady, a quiet man who'd retired shortly after the disappearance. Lily's heart pounded. Was Tom involved in their disappearance? Or had he helped them escape? With Ramirez's help, Lily tracked down Tom Grady, now living in a small town an hour away. He answered the door, his face lined with age and worry. When Lily showed him the photo, his eyes filled with tears. "I remember them," he said softly. "They were scared. They asked for help. I gave them a ride to the bus station. No questions asked. They said they couldn't go home, that it wasn't safe. I thought I was doing the right thing." Tom handed Lily a letter he'd kept all these years, addressed to whoever cares enough to look. In it, Ava and Marcus explained their decision to leave, their hope for a new life, and their gratitude to those who had shown them kindness. Lily wept as she read the letter. Ava and Marcus hadn't been taken. They had chosen to leave, to seek a place where they could be themselves, free from fear and judgment. Their disappearance was an act of bravery, a leap of faith. With Ramirez's help, Lily traced their journey. Bus tickets, small towns, odd jobs. She found a blog, written under pseudonyms, filled with poetry and music that echoed Ava and Marcus's voices. They were alive, building a life together, helping others who felt lost and alone. Lily spent hours reading the blog, her heart aching with every post. The writing was raw and honest, stories of small towns, kind strangers, and the struggle to find belonging. Ava wrote about her anxiety, about learning to breathe again in a world that felt new and uncertain. Marcus wrote about music, about the freedom of playing in parks and coffee shops, about the pain of leaving family behind. They never used their real names, but the details were unmistakable. Ava's love of autumn leaves, Marcus's favorite jazz standards, the way they described each other with a tenderness that only true friends or soulmates could share. They wrote about the night they left Willow Creek, about the fear and relief, about the security guard who had shown them compassion when they needed it most. Lily realized that her sister and Marcus had not just survived, they had grown. They had found a way to turn their pain into something beautiful, to help others who felt invisible. The blog was filled with messages from readers, young people struggling with their own secrets, parents trying to understand, strangers offering support. Ava and Marcus had built a community, one post at a time. Lily wanted to reach out, to let them know she had found them, that she understood. But she hesitated. What if they didn't want to be found? What if her presence brought back the pain they had worked so hard to escape? Detective Ramirez encouraged her to write a message, to let them decide. Sometimes, she said, the bravest thing you can do is offer forgiveness and ask for it in return. Lily wrote a letter, pouring out her heart. She apologized for not seeing her sister's pain, for not asking the right questions, for letting fear keep her silent. She told Ava and Marcus how much they were missed, how their absence had changed everything, how proud she was of their courage. She sent the letter through the blog's anonymous contact form, not knowing if it would ever reach them. Days passed. Lily checked her email every hour, her stomach in knots. She walked the campus, tracing the paths her sister had once walked, feeling closer to her than she had in years. She visited the mural, running her fingers over the painted faces, whispering a promise to never let their story be forgotten. One evening, as the sun set over Willow Creek, Lily's phone buzzed. An email, unsigned, but unmistakably Ava's voice. "Dear Lily," it began, "we never stopped loving you. We just needed to find a place where we could breathe. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for looking for us. We are safe. We are happy. Please tell Mom and Dad we're okay. And please, keep telling our story. There are so many others who need to know they're not alone." Lily wept, her tears a mix of relief and sorrow. She knew she might never see her sister again, but she had found peace in knowing Ava and Marcus were alive, that they had found the freedom they so desperately needed. The revelation of Ava and Marcus's journey sent ripples through Willow Creek. The college held a vigil, not just for them, but for all students who had struggled in silence. Professors spoke openly about mental health, about the importance of listening and believing. The administration launched new initiatives, peer support groups, anonymous reporting systems, scholarships for students facing hardship. Tom Grady, the retired security guard, was honored for his compassion. He spoke at the vigil, his voice trembling as he urged the community to see the person behind the pain, to offer kindness even when you don't understand. Lily became an advocate, sharing her family's story at conferences and workshops. She spoke about the hidden struggles of everyday people, about the power of empathy, about the need for moral justice in a world too quick to judge. The college, once criticized for its silence, became a leader in student support. The mural of Ava and Marcus grew, covered in messages of hope and remembrance. Students left notes, stories of their own struggles, promises to be kinder, to listen, to reach out. The community, once fractured by loss, began to heal. Parents hugged their children a little tighter. Friends checked in on each other. Acts of bravery and kindness became the new legacy of Willow Creek. Lily's parents, though still grieving, found comfort in knowing their daughter was alive, that she had found her own path. They wrote letters, sent care packages, and learned to let go, trusting that love would find its way home. 6 years after Ava and Marcus vanished, their story became a beacon for others. The blog continued, now with contributions from readers around the world. Stories of survival, of redemption, of the quiet heroism of everyday people. Lily graduated, her heart full of hope. She knew the world was still imperfect, that there would always be pain and loss. But she also knew that even in the darkest moments, there was light, acts of depth, of courage, of love. And somewhere, In a small town far from Willow Creek, Ava and Marcus watched the sunrise, their hearts finally at peace, knowing they had changed the world, not by being perfect, but by being true to themselves. As the years passed, the story of Ava and Marcus became more than a local legend. It became a lesson. New students arrived at Willow Creek, drawn to the college's renewed commitment to compassion and support. The mural, once a simple tribute, grew into a living memorial. Each year, on the anniversary of their disappearance, students and faculty gathered beneath it, lighting candles and sharing stories of struggle and survival. Lily, now a graduate student, found herself at the center of a growing movement. She was invited to speak at universities across the country, her voice steady, but her eyes always searching the crowd for faces like her sisters, quiet, hopeful, sometimes afraid. She spoke not just of loss, but of the power of community, of the difference one act of kindness could make. She told the story of Tom Grady, the security guard who had risked his job to help two frightened students. She spoke of the professor who had finally learned to listen, of the classmate who had found the courage to apologize. She spoke of her own journey, from anger and grief to understanding and forgiveness. Meanwhile, Ava and Marcus built a life together in a small coastal town, far from the shadows of Willow Creek. They worked odd jobs, volunteered at shelters, and played music in the park. They became known for their warmth and generosity, for the way they welcomed outsiders and listened without judgment. Ava found work as a counselor, helping young people navigate the same fears and pressures she had once faced. Marcus taught music to children, his laughter echoing through the halls of the community center. They never spoke of their past, but their compassion spoke for them. They watched the world change from afar, sometimes with hope, sometimes with sorrow. They saw stories like theirs in the news. Students lost to silence, families torn apart by secrets. But they also saw signs of progress, schools embracing diversity, communities rallying around those in need, young people speaking out for justice. One spring afternoon, as Ava walked through the local farmer's market, she heard a familiar melody drifting from a nearby stall. It was a jazz tune Marcus used to play back in Willow Creek. She followed the sound and found a young woman, no older than Lily had been when Ava left, playing the song on a battered old guitar. Ava introduced herself, and the girl smiled shyly. "I learned this from a blog," she said. "It helped me through some tough times." Ava's heart swelled with pride and gratitude. She realized that the ripples of her and Marcus's journey had reached farther than she'd ever imagined. That night, Ava wrote a new post for the blog. She spoke of hope, of the importance of reaching out, of the courage it took to ask for help. She ended with a simple message. "You are not alone. There is always someone who cares." Back in Willow Creek, Lily received a package in the mail. Inside was a small hand-carved box and a note in Ava's handwriting. "For you, with love. Thank you for never giving up on us." Inside the box was the red scarf Ava had worn the night she disappeared, and a USB drive filled with music and letters from Ava and Marcus. Lily listened to the songs, read the letters, and felt a peace she hadn't known in years. She realized that forgiveness was not just about letting go of anger. It was about embracing the possibility of healing for herself and for her family. She shared the music and letters with her parents, and together they wept and laughed, remembering the girl they had lost and the woman she had become. They wrote back, sending their love and forgiveness across the miles, trusting that it would find its way. The changes at Willow Creek were not just symbolic. The college established a scholarship in Ava and Marcus's names, awarded each year to students who demonstrated resilience and compassion. The counseling center expanded, staffed by professionals who understood the unique challenges faced by students from all backgrounds. The town itself changed too. Neighbors looked out for one another, teachers paid closer attention, and parents listened more carefully to their children. The story of Ava and Marcus became a touchstone, a reminder that everyone carries hidden struggles, and that even the smallest act of kindness can change a life. 6 years after the disappearance, Lily stood before a packed auditorium, the mural of Ava and Marcus projected behind her. She spoke of the journey from loss to hope, of the power of community, of the importance of never giving up on those you love. As she finished, the audience rose in a standing ovation. Among them were students who had found the courage to seek help, parents who had learned to listen, and teachers who had become advocates for change. Lily knew that the pain of losing her sister would never fully fade. But she also knew that Ava and Marcus's story had become a beacon, a light in the darkness, guiding others toward compassion, justice, and redemption. As the years passed, Lily sometimes dreamed of a reunion, a day when Ava and Marcus would walk through the doors of their childhood home, laughter and tears mingling as they embraced. But reality was quieter, more complicated. The letters and music were their bridge, a way to share love and forgiveness across the distance. Lily learned to cherish these small connections, to find joy in the knowledge that her sister was safe and living authentically. Ava and Marcus, too, felt the ache of separation. They missed their families, the familiar streets of Willow Creek, the comfort of old routines. But they also knew that their choice had been necessary. In their new town, they were free to be themselves, to build a life not defined by fear or shame. They found family in each other and in the community they created through their blog and their acts of kindness. The story of Ava and Marcus continued to inspire others. The blog became a gathering place for people from all walks of life, students struggling with mental health, parents seeking to understand their children, teachers looking for ways to support their students. Stories poured in, tales of survival, of reconciliation, of small acts of bravery that changed the course of a life. One post, written by a young man named Daniel, stood out. He described how reading Ava and Marcus's story had given him the courage to come out to his family, to seek help for his depression, to believe that he was worthy of love. "You saved my life," he wrote simply. Ava and Marcus replied with encouragement and gratitude, their words a lifeline for Daniel and countless others. Lily, reading these exchanges, felt a sense of awe. Her sister and Marcus had become more than survivors. They were guides, helping others navigate the darkness. Their pain had not been in vain. It had become a source of hope. At Willow Creek, the legacy of Ava and Marcus shaped a new generation. The scholarship in their names attracted students who were passionate about social justice, mental health advocacy, and community service. These students formed support groups, organized awareness campaigns, and volunteered in the local community. One student, Maya, shared her own story at the annual vigil. She spoke of her struggles with anxiety, of the isolation she felt before finding support through the programs inspired by Ava and Marcus. "Their story showed me that I wasn't alone," Maya said, her voice trembling. "It gave me the courage to ask for help, and to help others in return." The audience listened in silence, many wiping away tears. The mural behind Maya seemed to glow in the candlelight, a testament to the enduring power of compassion. Detective Ramirez, now retired, often reflected on the case that had changed her life. She kept a copy of Ava and Marcus's letter in her desk, a reminder of the importance of listening, of believing, of acting with empathy. She volunteered at the college, mentoring young officers and teaching them to see beyond the surface, to recognize the hidden struggles that so many carried. The college administration, once criticized for its failures, became a model for others. They shared their journey at national conferences, encouraging other institutions to prioritize student well-being, to create environments where every voice was heard and every life valued. Justice, Lily realized, was not always about punishment or retribution. Sometimes it was about transformation, about changing systems, healing wounds, and ensuring that the mistakes of the past were not repeated. In their coastal town, Ava and Marcus continued their quiet work. They organized community events, raised funds for local shelters, and offered free music and art classes to children. They never sought recognition, but their kindness left a mark on everyone they met. One winter, a devastating storm hit the town, leaving many families homeless. Ava and Marcus opened their small apartment to those in need, sharing what little they had. Their neighbors followed suit, and soon the entire community was working together to rebuild. A local journalist, moved by their generosity, wrote an article about the couple who had become the heart of the town. The story spread, and donations poured in from across the country. Ava and Marcus used the funds to establish a community center, a place where anyone could find support, friendship, and hope. On the 6th anniversary of their disappearance, Lily received another letter from Ava. This one was different, longer, more reflective. Ava wrote about the journey she and Marcus had taken, the challenges they had faced, the love and acceptance they had found. She spoke of forgiveness, of the importance of letting go of anger and embracing the possibility of healing. "We are not the same people we were when we left Willow Creek," Ava wrote. "We have grown, we have learned, and we have found peace. I hope you can find peace too. Remember that you are loved, and that you have the power to change the world, one act of kindness at a time." Lily read the letter aloud at the annual vigil, her voice steady and strong. The crowd listened in silence, the weight of Ava's words settling over them like a blessing. After reading Ava's letter at the vigil, Lily felt a shift within herself. For years, she had carried the weight of her sister's disappearance like a stone in her chest. Now, she felt it begin to dissolve, replaced by something lighter, acceptance, and even gratitude. She realized that Ava and Marcus's journey had not only saved their own lives, but had also sparked healing in so many others. Lily's parents, too, found a new sense of peace. They began to volunteer at the college, speaking to parents and students about the importance of mental health and unconditional love. They became advocates for change, determined that no other family would have to endure the pain of silence and misunderstanding. Their home, once filled with sorrow, became a place of hope and welcome for students who needed a safe space. The family's healing was not linear. There were still days of longing, of wondering what might have been. But there was also laughter and music, and the knowledge that love could reach across any distance. The community center that Ava and Marcus founded became a sanctuary for many. It was a place where people could share their stories without fear of judgment, where children could learn and play, where the lonely could find companionship. Ava led support groups, teaching others how to manage anxiety and build resilience. Marcus organized music nights, bringing together people of all ages and backgrounds. The center's walls were covered in art, paintings, poems, and photographs donated by those whose lives had been touched by Ava and Marcus. There was a mural, too, painted by a local artist. Two figures standing side by side, looking out over a sunlit sea. It was a symbol of hope, of new beginnings, of the power of friendship and courage. Ava and Marcus never forgot where they came from. They kept in touch with Lily and her parents, sending letters and photos, sharing stories of the people they had helped. They knew that their journey had been difficult, but they also knew it had been worth it. Back in Willow Creek, the college continued to evolve. The annual vigil grew larger each year, drawing people from across the state. The scholarship fund expanded, supporting students from marginalized backgrounds and those facing personal challenges. The counseling center became a model for other institutions, offering innovative programs and peer support networks. Lily, now a counselor herself, worked tirelessly to ensure that every student felt seen and valued. She trained faculty and staff, developed outreach programs, and mentored students who reminded her of her sister. She found joy in her work, knowing that she was helping to build a community where no one would have to suffer in silence. The town itself changed, too. Neighbors looked out for one another, and acts of kindness became commonplace. The story of Ava and Marcus was taught in local schools, not as a tragedy, but as a lesson in resilience and compassion. The blog that Ava and Marcus started continued to thrive, becoming a global platform for stories of hope and healing. People from around the world shared their experiences, offering support and encouragement to one another. The blog's motto, chosen by Ava, was simple: "You are not alone." Ava and Marcus published a book, a collection of essays and letters chronicling their journey. The book became a bestseller, inspiring readers to look beyond appearances and to reach out to those in need. They donated the proceeds to mental health organizations and community centers, determined to give back as much as they had received. Lily contributed a chapter to the book, sharing her perspective as a sister left behind, and as someone who had found her own path to healing. Her words resonated with many, and she received letters from readers who had been moved by her honesty and strength. 6 years after their disappearance, Ava and Marcus's story had become a beacon of hope for countless people. Their journey had shown that even in the darkest moments, there was always a way forward. They had demonstrated the power of bravery, kindness, and redemption, and had challenged the social biases that so often kept people apart. Lily stood at the mural one evening, watching as a group of students lit candles and shared their stories. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for her sister, for Marcus, for the community that had grown from their pain. She knew that the work was not finished, that there would always be more to do. But she also knew that she was not alone. As the sun set over Willow Creek, Lily whispered a quiet thank you to the two friends who had vanished, and to the countless others who had found the courage to be themselves. Their story would live on, a testament to the enduring power of love, justice, and acts of depth. The years continued to pass, but the echoes of Ava and Marcus's courage never faded. Their story was now part of Willow Creek's identity, woven into the fabric of the town and the lives of its people. The annual vigil became a celebration of resilience, with music, poetry, and testimonials from those who had found hope through the legacy of two students who once vanished without a trace. Lily, now a respected counselor and advocate, often reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She remembered the pain of not knowing, the fear that her sister was lost forever. But she also remembered the moment she saw Ava's handwriting again, The first time she heard Marcus's music after so many years. Those moments had taught her that healing was possible, even when the wounds ran deep. She made it her mission to ensure that no one else would have to walk through darkness alone. She started a foundation in Ava and Marcus's names, dedicated to supporting young people in crisis and training communities to recognize the signs of hidden struggles. The foundation's motto, "See the unseen, hear the unheard," became a rallying cry for change. In their coastal town, Ava and Marcus found a quiet joy in the life they had built. They celebrated small victories, helping a child overcome stage fright, guiding a teenager through a panic attack, watching a lonely neighbor find friendship at the community center. Their days were filled with purpose, their nights with music and laughter. They never forgot the pain that had driven them away from Willow Creek, but they no longer let it define them. Instead, they used their experiences to help others, to show that it was possible to move beyond fear and shame. They became mentors, friends, and family to those who needed it most. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, Ava would sit by the window and write letters to Lily, sharing stories of the people they had helped, the lessons they had learned. She always ended her letters the same way. "We are here, we are happy, and we love you." The transformation of Willow Creek was not without its challenges. There were setbacks, moments when old prejudices resurfaced, or when the weight of the past threatened to overwhelm the progress that had been made. But each time, the community came together, drawing strength from the story of Ava and Marcus.
The root of the problem went deeper than two employees. She pulled out an old file from the drawer labeled Legacy Notes, a file her father started when she was still in college. Inside were blueprints for how the hotel could become a model of equity, inclusive hiring, mentorship programs, community partnerships, even mental health support for staff. She remembered him scribbling ideas in the margins while he polished brass railings. "One day these people are gonna need you," he'd said, "and you'll be ready." She was. Simone walked out to the staff lounge, where a mix of housekeepers, cooks, maintenance workers, and junior receptionists had gathered. Some looked nervous, others looked hopeful. She stood at the center. No podium, no microphone, just her voice. "I know today was intense," she began. "I didn't expect it either. But the truth is, I've been watching this place long before you knew who I was. Not just from the boardroom, but from the sidewalk, the guest rooms, the break rooms. I know what it's like to be treated as less, by people who believe uniforms define your worth." A man from maintenance nodded silently. He'd once been asked to take the freight elevator when delivering a wedding bouquet to the ballroom. "This place has potential," Simone continued, "but only if we build it together, if we see each other not as labels or roles, but as human beings with stories, families, and dreams." She looked around. "So, starting tomorrow, no more silence. I want to hear from you. What's broken? What's unfair? What would make this place feel like it belongs to all of us?" A timid cook raised her hand. "Can we have a suggestion box that actually gets read?" Simone smiled. "No box needed. You've got my email. Direct line." The room slowly filled with applause, not the loud, forced kind, but the quiet, meaningful kind that comes when people feel seen for the first time. Outside, the headlines were catching fire. "Black woman CEO, booted from her own hotel, responds with dignity and power."